Welcome everyone to today's podcast, The Engineer Whisperer, Transition into a Director Role. Today, I have the honor to welcome Kunjal to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Kunjal.
Yeah, thank you, Andra. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be part of this podcast.
Me too. Well, before we start, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm currently working as a head of engineering at BSmarty, which is mortgage application processing, more focused on the fintech. And prior to working at BSmarty, I have been part of the different industry and different domain, which is kind of working at Amazon, then working at Grinder. I have worked at few of these really small and seed startup companies as well. So kind of had a opportunity to work in the both the worlds, which is kind of really enterprise companies and the startup companies as well. And I'm super excited to share about my journey of being IC to then like line manager and to the director of engineering to now head of engineering.
I know you had a fascinating career, so that's why I wanted to invite you here so that you share your experience with us and inspire all of us. So before as we start, tell us, give us some context. Were you invited into the director role, or was this always part of your development plan?
So I would say it's both, kind of the combination of both. Of course, the progression came organically, but at the same time, it was also conscious in my mind as well, which is kind of consciously I was looking for opportunity at some point. But for me, the opportunity came at the right time, I would say, in a way that I was exploring that kind of opportunity, but I was looking for more during the pandemic time, which is kind of where I can really make an impact in the community, where I can really use my leadership skills, my technical expertise in the security, cloud, the product-based companies that I have worked with. And around the same time, basically during the pandemic, I think all of us went through some of the changes, right, which kind of did require us to kind of
Yeah.
really upgrade us emotionally, physically, mentally. And of course, some of my friends or extended family members were impacted as well during the pandemic. And that's when I was really thinking that how can I really use my leadership skills and at the same time, kind of really look for the natural progression in my career as well. And of course, my experience at Amazon of leading the multiple products and team kind of came handy. And that's when the opportunity at Grinder came my way, and which is the dating app for the LGBTQ community. So here I was basically, which is kind of the perfect intersection when it comes to what I'm looking for and trying to make an impact in the community where I can use my leadership skill as well and use the technical expertise as well. And that's when this director of engineering opportunity came my way. And it ended up working out very well because they were looking for someone who have startup company experience and the enterprise company experience as well, someone who can bring in the best of both worlds because the company is relatively small, had went public recently. So someone who can kind of bring in the best of both worlds and help them kind of focus on the delivery of the product, the strategy of the product, and a lot more focused on the execution as well.
Wow, it sounds like yes, it was the right time, but I love it how you already prepared yourself a little bit. Because some people ask me, well, when is the right time to make a decision and when is the right decision to make? And what I'm hearing from you that it's a little bit you were preparing yourself and then the opportunity came and it was more, oh yeah, yeah, I was looking. So it's like I wanted something, I didn't quite know what it was, but once it showed up like, okay, this is what I want.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I think not when it came directly, but I would say that it's also came from some of the past experiences that I have been having, right? When I was leading the team or I was leading the product, I ended up picking a lot more tasks which no one wanted to sign up for around me. So that was also a natural progression where I kind of felt that I was ready to take the next step in my career, which is kind of when you're a line manager, it's a lot more focused on execution, deliverables, day-to-day activity, really helping your engineers out. Versus now when I was leading the product, it was a lot more focused on stakeholder management, right? When I was working with over
Yes.
30 different engineering teams. I had more than 100 of stakeholders to manage. So which gave me the natural progression into the going to the next level role, right? And I would say also I'm really grateful that some of the people around me did not want to do the work that I was willing to do. So I
I
think it's
love
more
that.
kind of yeah. So I'm really glad to the people who did not sign up for some of the work that fell on my plate. And that's when I also felt that, okay, now, well, I'm not just capable of doing my teamwork, but I'm also capable of doing my peer team's work. And maybe I'm also able to help my manager as well, able to capable of doing the work that my manager is capable of doing kind of. And when you start receiving the feedback for that, that is when I felt that, okay, I was ready for the next role at that stage.
Oh, I love that safe way of almost like walking, kind of walking into the role, kind of tasting it, and then, oh yeah, I'm capable of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I think you put it in a right way, basically, which is kind of walk into that role, test it out, and see, like, do you really like it? And in my case, I guess I really enjoy taking that additional responsibility and the ownership beyond just my scope.
awesome. Well, let's talk about the transition. Let's start with what came easy for you.
I would say I think the leadership came easy to me in a way that I think I had that strength of a decisiveness, basically, which is kind of I can make a decision fast rather than taking really long. That came really handy, and that was the easiest part because, like, when you transition to the next level role, when you're managing multiple teams, decision is very critical, right? And I think decisiveness is even more important, um, where you make a decision, you find a solution, and then let your team deliver. That's one thing which came very easy to me. I guess it's also a little bit of my personality as well. And the second thing, which is really able to build the trust with the team pretty fast. That also came very handy to me and kind of came naturally, which is usually my leadership style is very approachable, which is kind of you come to me when you need my help. Otherwise, I want you to operate at your best, basically, which kind of you need to be self-contained, have
Mm.
a ownership. If you have a best solution, propose a best solution. Once it's approved, I'm out of your way. So I think that leadership style has also helped me to build the trust with the team pretty easily. And when that part is taken care, usually, which is then leaves a lot of room for me to focus on the strategy side of the house, which is very critical as a director of engineering, which is focusing on the team morale, the right balance of technical debt versus the innovation and strategy, which aligns very well with the company's goal.
Yes, yes. So you're saying that at the beginning, when you start building trust, you focus on, I call it the autonomy, setting the boundary of for someone to be autonomous and to be accountable for their work, and then also to be accountable to reaching out for help to you. Is this something that you like have a one-on-one with person, or is this a team
Yeah.
um meeting, or
Yeah.
how do
Yeah,
you do
both. I
that?
would say in both kind of a setting. So also setting the clear expectation and being direct with the expectation in the meeting as well and in the one-on-one setting as well. Then also setting expectation with the leaders who reported to me, which is can make sure that there is a transparency, there is a communication, you convey that message to your team as well. So I think communication has been critical in a team setting and in a one-on-one setting as well. So I usually have like a weekly leadership meeting with the leaders who report to me. Then I do have the monthly or quarterly. I adjust based on the need with my entire team as well, with all the leaders and engineers part of that one. So that way I can provide the visibility and transparency of what is going on at the company level and what is it that we need to do as a team to make our team successful and the company successful.
I love that. That alignment communication for everyone to understand how they fit into the big picture, and then
Yeah,
how they can support the big
yeah,
picture,
yeah,
and telling them where your space is and what opportunities are. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. What was difficult? What was challenging in your transition?
Yeah, so I think the challenging part would be really focusing on the strategy in the beginning, which is that you do have a lot of tech debt as an engineering leader. So really balancing out that how do we continue to focus at the fast pace when it comes to the innovation side of the house, but at the same time, how to balance it with the short-term priority, right? Which is the
Yeah.
long-term, balancing out the long-term strategy with the short-term conflicting priority. So kind of balancing out that and also leveraging the leaders at the same time. That has been a little bit challenging in the beginning. Then, of course, then I could overcome it, but that was the challenging part in the beginning.
So what mindset, if anything, had you to shift into in order to overcome this challenge?
Yeah, so I think it has been more focused on one, which is leveraging my leaders and also finding the complementary personality, right, in the team. So as part of the hiring, now I'm direct, basically, right, when it comes to my communication,
I think
and which is
so. You
great.
said
Basically,
it
it helps
directly.
set expectation clearly, but at the
Yes.
same time, it's good to have the complementary personality as well, right, which kind of I make the
Yes.
decision fast, but we also want somewhat the speed breakers as well, right? So someone who can be kind of Lysanian and kind of have a calm personality, which complements with your personality, who kind of shows you the different angle, right? Who can kind of keep you on your toe with your decision. So I made sure that 2 or 3 leaders who reported to me had kind of a complementary personality to me. That's the one step that I had taken. So that way, same decision can be looked from a different angle. Yeah, and then kind of rolling up the lower level problem to next level, then next level, so then that way it can fit into the overall company strategy, and kind of also taking the bigger problem, then kind of really breaking down into the smaller strategies. So that's one, and that helped with the team excellence, which is kind of really having a team member who has a strength that you don't have a strength, which I did not,
Yes.
right? Which is,
Yes.
so that's a one thing. The second change I made, which I have been working for a long time, but which was absolutely needed in my director level or currently at head of engineering role as well, which is um, as a director or as executive, you need to make a lot of tough decision. There is a constant context switching happening because you lead multiple charters, right? And you
Yes.
cannot be at the weed level for all the charter, and you have to kind of rely on different people. Um, but I think when you get into the weeds, sometimes you end up losing the bigger picture. That started to happen with me as well when I started to get into every single charter. So for me, the change I made professionally and personally as well, that when you really have to make or I needed to make a big context switching or maybe a big decisions, I decided to take a break in between. So in between two big decision making meetings, go out for a walk for 5-10 minutes, be in a right headspace, empty your mind out, and then kind of just be a good listener, and then only speak when there is a decision needs to be made. That has made a huge difference where I could just focus on the higher level picture and not getting into the pretty much every single detail, right? And kind of also
Yes.
saying no to a lot of meetings, which is kind of wherever I feel like, hey, you got this, figure it out. Saying no has also helped. So
Yeah.
that way I can focus on the bigger picture.
Wow, I love that. Well, let me go back to the first one because that gives me the hint that you also value feedback. Because if you build a team that's complementary to your skills, that means that you're gonna listen to their feedback, that you invite them to give you feedback so that you can grow. I can definitely hear that in what you said. And then the second one is that mindfulness moment, that intentional break
Yes.
to give yourself just, as you said, the headspace to think and not, and I'll bring in emotions too. I can hear it a little bit in you, in that emotional intelligence of,
Yeah.
okay, I need a break now. My emotions are running high or low, either way,
Yeah.
but I'm not at equilibrium. So how can I balance myself out first
Yeah.
or neutralize myself? There are
Yeah.
different languages, but so you're not too hot and not too cold, but you
Yeah.
can.
There is a steady pace. Yeah. In the
Yes,
communication. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I love it how bring in these small but amazing practices of taking a break, saying no to a meeting when you know you are between two important meetings. going out, taking a walk, seeing nature, just changing the environment to give
Right.
yourself the chance to really perform better. That's what I'm
Correct.
hearing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I have always felt that every leader's decision or the every word comes out of leader's mouth, it does impact the team. And as I see, yes, it's mostly you or maybe one or two people you are interacting with as a line manager. Maybe it's just you and two or three engineers who get impacted. As executive, when you are managing multiple team, and if the
Yes.
emotional intelligence is missing, that impact the entire team and the entire team's productivity and performance.
Yes, understanding that. Yes, comes with, the higher position comes with responsibilities in a
Yes,
higher way. So,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
don't
I
be
feel
a,
like I guess the higher up I have been climbing, the more and more emotional intelligence has been required. I mean, I have been fortunate to have had a manager um, who did not have strong emotional intelligence. I'm also have been very fortunate to have a leader who set a really good example, who led by example, who had amazing emotional intelligence that really helped me grow as a leader. I knew what kind of leader I did not want to be and what kind of leader I want to be because I had example of both.
super. I mean, isn't that what we all want to have to have those examples and then to make the choice ourselves
Yep.
versus to miss something. So I encourage those who are listening, if you say, well, I didn't have or I don't have yet an example of good or bad, I don't know, either way, go find one or go talk to people,
Yeah.
network and find out about their experiences because it will make you a better
Yeah.
leader to
Absolutely.
build
And I
your
would recommend that if you are one of those who haven't had a great leader as an example, I would say that one thing you can look for is that you can learn from not so good leaders as well, which is kind of you definitely know what kind of leader you don't want to be, or you
yes.
want to be a leader that you did not get. So that also simplifies the process a little bit.
That is my experience along the way before I built my career. I had these leaders who just helped me, quotation mark, to pivot and say, okay, never again,
Yeah.
never again want to be in this situation. So I'm gonna do something about this because I have control. So I'm taking control over. So
Yep.
yes, I can hands down, it's so valuable. But that also tells me that you have this mindset of a learner, of I'm gonna learn from any and every situation, no matter if I work with not so good leader or a great leader. I'm gonna notice, be aware, and keep an open mind to learn, and then take what I can build into my life. That's also what I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think we need to be the lifelong student, be it in the profession, in a leadership, or in a family life or friend life, right? I think we just need to keep evolve and keep learning our whole life. Absolutely. That's the biggest lesson that anyone can take.
Yes, I think it's the practice that's the
Yeah,
difficult
yeah, it
one.
comes with practice. Yes, it absolutely comes with a practice. Yeah, I'm still continue to work on that. I'm one of those who is kind of meticulous planner to some extent. I work best when I'm prepared, but at the same time, I also know that especially in the software engineering industry, which is kind of things move really at the fast pace, and being adaptable is very critical. So kind of the right balance of when you need to be prepared and when I need to be kind of adaptive, right? In the last minute.
Yes.
Yeah, that has also kind of helped me so far. It's still work in progress. I won't say I have aced it. It's work in progress. So continue to learn.
Well, as I said, as long as you have that mindset that I'm learning and then
Yeah,
that it's not a fix that I have
yeah,
learned it and there's, I'm done, then I think growth will just happen naturally.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Kunja, what was something that surprised you in your transition, if anything?
The surprising to me in my transition, yeah, I would say that I think one thing that was surprising to me that my understanding of um, like the C-suite has been that there is a great emotional intelligence built in. And at some point, not just I would say that in the director role or head of engineering role, but I have seen that in my leadership career, basically, right? Which is, um, I guess that when I needed to mentor my leaders, I think that was a little bit of surprising factor for me, which is kind of, I came in with little bit of expectation that, hey, I have a leader who I can just learn and grow from and would be mind of coach and mentor. But that hasn't been the case always, right? In some cases where I have also had a leader who kind of, I would say that would come on the stage and would just come with kind of a fear, which is kind of, we used to call it as agent of anxiety. And
Mm-hmm.
my team used to be like, okay, now what's next? What is coming, right? Like who is going to get fired, kind of a fear. So in this kind of a situation, I needed to mentor my leader as well. So I had to, that's something came as a surprise to me, which is kind of having there is a difference between having a house on fire versus having a culture of house on fire. So really identify that, is the house really on fire, or it's just the leadership culture is having a house on fire. Really identifying that, and then kind of really mentoring my leader as well, which is kind of, hey, I think if we just calm down, if we just take a step back, and if we look back, I don't think so it's as bad as we think it is. All it is needed is just, I guess we just need to be solution driven. So I would say that came as a surprise to me, which is kind of like house is actually not on fire, but it's a culture of house on fire.
So how did you do that? Because that I can hear it. That takes a lot of courage and bravery, and I mean some risk taking that someone who's listening might say, "Okay, that sounds good, but I don't want to do that." Kind of like I have too much to lose, or So
Yeah, yeah,
how how,
absolutely. I
how
think
did
there are
you
a lot of
step
stake.
into that?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of things were at the stake. Yes, of course. When I need to have that kind of a tough conversation, right? It put me in a really uncomfortable situation. But I feel that's what the leadership is about. That at some point, someone would have to speak up to do the right thing, right, or to change the moral and culture of the team. And when the moral and culture of the team is great, when there is a culture of innovation, there is a culture of good moral and motivation in the team, it's become a lot easy to build the great product. So that's the thought I kept in mind, that someone would have to speak up. And for me, someone, I think it kind of little bit come naturally to me as well, because from my childhood, I have seen great leader around me who cared for people a lot, but who wasn't shy away to speak up for the right thing as well. My grandmother is one example. My father is another example. Then from my childhood, I have lived from one city to another city, from one place to another place, moved very often than many of the people around me. So that also gave me a comfort in being uncomfortable, I would say.
Yes, yes, I can sense that. I can sense that. What an amazing. I know we bring so much from our childhood and from the people that we grow up with. I encourage engineers all the time to, look back and embrace where you came from, how you grew up,
Absolutely.
because there's so much, magic and
Yeah,
treasure
yeah,
in that. So thanks for mentioning that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of the strength could be acquired over the years with experience, and some of the strength just goes back all the way to our childhood. And maybe we can just go back all the way to childhood and really see that what are some of the strengths we have and how do we really leverage those strengths.
Exactly. Yes, not every, yes, to look at your personal skills and talents that you always had as a child, not just the business, so-called business skills. But
Yep,
bringing some
absolutely.
of, yeah, it's in a way bringing yourself, bringing the person that you knew and you're familiar with, so that you can be in, as you said, you can be comfortable with yourself while you are uncomfortable in the situation at hand. And that's
Yep,
such a powerful combination. But thanks for sharing.
absolutely.
So as we're coming to an end, is there a transition that you're going through right now that you want to share about?
Yeah, so I have recently joined Base Marty as a head of engineering. So now from being manager to senior manager to director, now this transition also comes with its own challenges. I would say there are perks of it, and then there are challenges of it as well. That until I was director of engineering, I still had someone to go to, basically, even though I had to find a solution. I still had someone to go to, whether it could be CTO or a CEO, the folks I had reported to. Now, as a head of engineering, I'm leading multidisciplinary fields, basically, right? But then I am the kind of go-to person for pretty much entire team and even for the C-suite as well, which is kind of now until this point, my decision impacted my team or perhaps certain part of the product or the business. Now my strategy and decision affect the entire company's strategy basically, and especially when there is a lot more focus on the technical product. So that's the one transition that I'm getting used to now, which is kind of I'm the go-to person for everyone, and I don't have anyone to go to except if I find the mentor externally outside the company. I would say so. It's a fun transition.
That I wanted to ask, yes, that because you seem like someone who's not just gonna, oh, I'm the only one, like that. There's nobody to ask. So I think you answered it, that you are looking for others outside of the company so that you can learn, grow, and talk with. And thanks for bringing that up. I think that that's a very important point, that even if as higher you go in your career, there are always going to be people who going to support you at every level. You might just need to go and find them.
Fine. Yeah. Yeah. I think mentorship is big part of it as well. I would recommend anyone who is looking for or transitioning into the leadership or planning to transition to the higher senior leadership, continue to have a mentor, whether it's within the company or outside the company. And if you still have the old mentor, perhaps they are at the same position, it's okay to continue to upgrade the mentorship relationship with the different mentors as well.
Let me ask you the last question, because I think I'm curious, and then I think who's listening is curious too. Is how did you find someone, and have you already found a mentor or someone to then help you and support you, or you're in the process? And how did you do it? Because we're always interested in, the how to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think until I was director, it was a lot easy to find the mentor. Basically, at that stage, like I could go to C-suite on LinkedIn, or when you go to a lot of conferences through Common Network, it has been a lot easy. So currently, as a head of engineering, I'm still in the process to finding the mentor. So I still have a mentor. I would say that I could reach out to some of the SVP at the big company or VP of engineering at the big company I have worked with. But currently, I'm really trying to find a mentor who has exposure to kind of working at the small company and a big company both, because you want to have a mentor who have went through that kind of a transition, which is kind of small company to a bigger
Yes.
company, because sometimes big company works in a different style and small company works in a different pace and a style. So one may not work for the other. So, but someone who has exposure to both is what I feel like would help me grow from here as well.
I see.
Yeah,
So
and there are a few of the coaching platform that I have signed up for. I'm going through many of the C-suite executive leadership coaching programs, and I have signed up for many of the other coaching program as well. So more to come in next 2 3 months.
well, thanks for mentioning it. I think that's so important to hear of how the others are doing it, and then to learn from them. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
well, we're at the end of the podcast. This was so much fun. I would like to turn the mic back to you to close us out. What would you like to leave us with?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Andra. This has been absolutely amazing conversation about the thought leadership. And it's not just about the thought leadership, but as you said, focusing on the how side of the house as well, which is and really helping the people out there who can really learn from some of the experiences. And hope some of these stories that I could share about me would make an impact in any of the listeners' life. And feel free to reach out to me if you feel that I can be of any help, if I can provide any mentorship. And at the same time, if you feel like that you can provide mentorship to me, then also feel free to reach out to me. We are all here to help each other out and help and grow.
I
And this
love
is absolutely a great medium, Andrea. So thank you so much for inviting me to your this podcast series, and continue to make an impact.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to leave with what you said. We're here to help each other out. And if we live and act from that place where there's abundance and then we can support each other, it's the how can I serve you? And I reach out, and you reach out, and we both benefit. I mean, isn't that amazing? So good that you put it out there that if someone's listening and it can be your mentor, then reach out. I love that. Well, on that note, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much, Andrea.